Senior Program Manager with the Capacity Building Center for Tribes. With our services that we provide, we work with the tribes across the nation that receive 4B and 4E funds, and we help through technical assistance or capacity building. And so for today, I wanted to share some of the things we've learned as we worked with the tribes and how they were able to define and supporting their effectiveness with their child welfare programs. To begin with, a lot of our partners that we work with the tribes may not have any cases that involved an Indian child. And so I wanted to talk a little bit about what some of the tribal programs have and how they operate. And so we know that there are 573 federally recognized tribes across the nation. And as a sovereign nation, a lot of them operate their own tribal programs. And they develop and operate these programs to keep their children safe and also to preserve their culture and to maintain the connection to their families and to their communities. And so as these tribes are operating their own programs, they have their own courts, they have their own tribal councils, their own tribal legislative bodies, and the leadership work very closely together as they look out for the best interests of their children. So with the tribes, if they do not have their own program, then they work concurrently with the state. And they also may contract their services out with the Bureau of Indian Affairs. And one of the things the tribes have, they have challenges because of the size of their program. So they may have cases that are involved all across the nation. And they also have fewer resources that they can access as opposed to what the state has. And with Native American, we know that their children are overrepresented in most of the population as we're looking at the rates of out-of-home care. And from Oklahoma, where I've worked for the past 27 years, we've found that the disproportionality rate has stayed around 30%. And so that's a little bit high, but what we encourage the tribes is to operate their own programs so that they can serve these children as best they can, and also to provide continuity of services and to keep those children connected to their cultures. Many of the tribal programs are building capacity so that they can, what they do, they align their tribal codes so that they can transfer cases from the state to the tribe. And with the tribal programs, they are also keenly aware of the need for workforce development. So they are always training, providing training for their staff, and they encourage them to implement their indigenous way of knowing. A lot of their culture is now being implanted into their services. And they are also an integral part of their communities, so they bring that also to the table. So they are able to build upon that when they're developing services or intervening in cases with the states. And tribal programs do not have a CFSR or PIP program. And so what we encourage is the state share those outcomes with the tribes and bring them into the conversations as they're developing those goals, strategies, or their objectives. And one of the things with both avenues, it also identifies any areas of ICWA compliance that may be needed. And so as they are looking at any of those areas that they may have to intervene or even to provide services, that they can also complement, with the state on what they're doing with their actions. And one of the other reasons for encouraging these relationships is that they have the ability to enter into a tribal state agreement, and that they both can then develop, those collaborations within those regions. And we also know that ICWA is the gold standard, and so that's something we also encourage. And so these relationships are modeled in working collaboratively with all the external partners. And as tribes, we ask them to be diligent, and also for the states to be diligent in developing those relationships.